Welcome to Detangle, where we untangle the complexities of life, one conversation at a time. I'm your host, Dr. Kinjal Goel, a psychologist and a writer. Our guest today is the esteemed financial expert, Dr. Vardhaman Jain, a chartered accountant working in Pune, India. It's a true honor to have you with me on this episode, Mr. Jain. Welcome.
Thank you so much. I am delighted as much.
So let's get started. Dr. Jain, tell us a little bit about yourself. Tell us about your scope of work and your qualifications, please.
Okay, as you said, I belong to Pune, born brought up in Pune, qualified as a commerce graduate, did my chartered accountancy, did my law thereafter, and about a decade ago, got my PhD from the Pune University in the field of commerce. I practice as a chartered accountant, traditionally in the field of taxes and audits. I take up litigation for tax litigation.
The problem areas.
The problem areas, yes, you're true.
Interesting. So tell me, Dr. Jain, why finance? Why numbers? I mean, what took you towards this field? Was there any person, any incident that inspired you early on?
Oh, that should not be a long story, but it was more eliminational logic that I'm not cut out for sciences. And that time it was science or commerce.
True.
Sciences, you take medicine or engineering, and commerce, you take up whatever comes your way.
Correct.
So that is how we branched out into commerce, but didn't know that we would get into chartered accountancy and numbers. I think that's a part of the DNA, numbers and finance. But the trajectory was you went along, and as you moved along, you took up chartered accountancy. Having done chartered accountancy, I realized that I have a flair for law. So I thought it would be a right combination to mix finance and law in my areas of practice.
This is very interesting because when I speak to the younger generation on my podcast, I find most of them wanting to establish what is their passion before they start working. But all the senior experts seem to have started working and then established their passion along the way.
I think that is the better way.
I agree.
Though youngsters may say that we start off with the passion, they may succeed too. But I feel as you grow, as you evolve, you really realize where things interest you, what interests you.
And the more you work in a field, the more interesting it becomes.
More interesting it becomes, absolutely.
It's a lovely angle. So let me ask you, money comes in so many colors, and not just in currency, but even psychologically. It makes the world go round. Its presence is coveted, everybody wants it, yet it is at the center of controversy more often than not. What is it about money that makes it so complicated?
Oh, super. The absolute question which I thought would always be the one with a finance expert. Traditionally, when we talk to money, we say money is a matter of functions for a medium, a measure, a standard, a store. That's how money is typically defined.
Can I take you back in that? Can you say that again?
Money is a matter of functions for a medium, a measure, a standard, a store.
Wow.
That is the typical connotation of the functions of money. And you said it is complicated, it has become complicated, center of controversy. It's because maybe we have gone beyond these measures, these functions, and we have looked at money as a symbol of power, as a symbol of position, as a symbol of freedom, as a symbol of status in society. And therefore, we have given money a share, notch higher position than your relationships, than the things around. That is where the complication starts.
Very interesting. I mean, I have spoken to so many doctors in medical fields before this, and they always have this algorithm to explain disease, illness, health. I have never heard about money being spoken so objectively. So I'm already enjoying this conversation.
Thank you.
So, Dr. Jain, let's talk about taxes. Now, in your experience, how common is it for people to divert more and more time and more resources in evading taxes and then getting into trouble later? And how do you think we can change this mindset?
Wonderful. Tax evasion. But basically, first we should realize that there are two different terms, tax evasion and tax avoidance. Now, what is the difference, you may ask me? Both save taxes.
Right.
Typically, it has been said that the difference between tax avoidance and tax evasion is the thickness of the prison walls.
Okay.
Evasion is illegal. Right. Avoidance is working within the framework to save taxes.
Okay.
So yes, saving taxes, you would plan out as a financial wizard, as a tax wizard, you would want to work within the framework of law and save taxes. That's tax avoidance. Tax evasion is something where you are due to be paid to the government and you don't want to pay. And you adopt ways and means to avoid.
Illegal means, basically.
Illegal means. So that is tax evasion. There was a time when people said that the most imaginary fiction written is the income tax return filed by an individual.
Fabulous. I love the way this is going.
Which would mean that all what was put into the return, that's the annual filing that you do with the income tax department for taxes, is something of a fiction. So it's not real. That means it was so much of evasion there when the real is not coming out. But times have changed. People have changed, the thoughts have changed, and the kind of monitoring that is there has changed.
Right.
So the mindset has moved from one of tax evasion to working within the frame of law, largely.
Okay.
And one more important thing that has happened is that the penalties are severe. The chances of getting caught are stronger. Having realized this, people say, let's work within the framework. So, yes, there is a change. I don't think we need to do any extra education in terms of one needs to know that you have to, if you're on the road and if you have to keep left, you have to keep left. This is the law. Now you need to drive. You don't have to do anything beyond that. You would learn over a period. So, teaching, no. Understanding, they have already got that, yes.
So you're saying there is a shift, but it is in the right direction.
It is a shift in the right direction. The younger generation, typically in 40 years of practice, I found that in the younger generation, they are not keen to spend time on finding out ways and means to avoid.
I think the digitalization of finances.
Big time. Digitalization and the harmonious working between the various arms of the government. Like even for that matter in taxes, you have GST and you have income tax. There was a time decades ago when both never worked hand in hand.
Right.
Today, transfer is so easy. So all what you do at one side is already logged in at the other. People have realized this and therefore they would love to work. Taxes are a necessary evil, as they said, and you pay them. Civilization was typically said.
Yeah.
Now people have understood this. It's going to be a partnership between the government and you.
Fantastic.
Necessarily have to pay.
So on the one hand, where we see crimes in different zones rising, we see the crimes in financial fraud reducing on a personal level.
I would differ. Financial fraud is something else. Tax evasion is something else.
Right. I'm tax evasion in a fraudulent manner.
Correct. That I don't think you will find that tax evasion per se is happening. It may happen because there are other areas where they want to be compliant or non-compliant, leading to a tax evasion.
Correct. So a whole lot of layers coming into play.
Not really the prime thing.
This is very heartwarming to know we're on the right path. So how important, according to you, is financial literacy for youngsters as they embark on their careers now? So most people in creative fields prefer to stay away from numbers and say, this is something I don't understand. But do you think they will need it at some point? And what are your thoughts on educating an entire generation in finance?
Oh, lovely. There are too many questions within that one question, but I will take them one by one. One is about educating the youngsters in the field of finance and tax and allied things. Typically, if you have to look at money and numbers, it is earning, spending, saving, investing, and giving.
Right.
If all these five are properly kept in view, I think your work in the world of finance is done.
Okay.
No earnings, no savings. Cause for financial worries. I typically say that the difference between mankind and animals is financial worries. They don't have, we have.
True.
So if you don't have earnings and don't have savings, you are into financial worries. Spending. Spending, earn the income, and spending after the income has been earned are two different things. People goof up in understanding that what I spend to earn is a necessary requirement, indispensable. But after having earned, after spending what was required for earning, whatever remains, there when you spend, whether you are splurging or you are spending the way it should be spent, and saving enough, and then saving that to investing to get passive income, because you operate.
Correct.
But your operations will have a limitation. Your investing will give you the passive income to supplement your operating income. That is where we need to know. And the last thing I think any individual would need to know is that ultimately it's about giving back. It is giving where you get your purpose in life, so to say. So all this has to be inculcated into the individual right from day one. It is done in many ways, but there could be a formal kind of education of the youngsters to do that. That's part one for the youngsters. Yes, you had something.
So this sounds like a perfect algorithm. In the youngsters' language, like Instagram or anything, were to work on an algorithm where something works if something else works.
True.
There's a simple algorithm, stay within the matrix, don't glitch it, and things will be all right.
Correct.
Wonderful. Going ahead.
You talked about the creative field. It's a typical thought that a creative person has. I'm a poet myself.
Oh, lovely.
I know that when I sit down to writing as an author or as a poet, and that largely plays upon my own working in finance, that money is not really the thing that should be there. That's the kind of thought you begin with. But ultimately, money makes the man go. Even a creative writer needs to work for his day to day. Only creative writing and creative work and no earnings would not work. So that basic fundamental understanding of money and finances is necessary for each and all of us. Somebody very beautifully said that money is required in as much as oxygen is required in the kind of wanted list.
True.
So if that is the kind of equation, then whether you're in the creative field or not, money understanding has to be there. The money mindset has to be there.
So this draws a parallel with psychology. Like people ask me, why do you have somebody from so and so field? And I always tell them psychology is at play everywhere. Absolutely. Whether you're in the creative field, financial field, medical field.
Absolutely, very true.
Performing field. So similarly, money is everywhere.
Everywhere.
You can't have a field without money, and if you have it, it's not sustainable.
Everywhere.
Beautiful. Tell me, Dr. Jain, for women, let's say in their 40s, it's very common for our generation to not have dabbled in money early on. There is no focus on financial health. There is no focus on financial angles within the family. But a lot of women are now waking up to this and they want to attain some kind of financial literacy. Are there any short courses you recommend, or is there a way that women can now start learning?
There are two parts to this. I think it's a beautiful question. We had a generation where the husband would be the earning member, and the lady in the house was supposed to look after the house and nothing beyond. But you would note that even those ladies who did only this knew what is budgeting.
Oh, yes.
They didn't know the technicals, but they knew what was budgeting. They knew what was saving. They knew what was compounding. In their own, they didn't know the phrases, but they knew all this. Maybe they didn't know the technicals. Some understanding of the technicals is essential. Now, for that, women of that era, the husbands would be dabbling in businesses and the wife would be completely unaware. In my professional practice, I have had ladies, senior ladies, come back saying that, oh, my husband was into 1, 2, 3, 4, and I don't know a thing about it.
Yeah.
And he's no more, and now I really don't know where to begin. Now, for those ladies, it is essential that they have a kind of template ready about what my husband does, what are my assets, what are my liabilities, what is that money that I have to give in, what is the money that I have to get, what is the money I have.
Right.
It's so essential for them to know this. That is for the senior ladies. But the younger generation, I feel, are more aware about the fact that we need to know something about money. We need to know the debits and credits. I'm using technical terms.
Right.
But they have a fair understanding. Do we require a course? Short term, it's not really a course. Even the basics, 2, 3 sittings with a financial expert would help educate the person who's not directly involved into finances to know what has to be done. So I think that should be good enough. If you ask me courses, I really have not looked at what kind of courses are available as short-term courses, but
I'm sure there are.
I'm sure there would be.
Because I've noticed a lot of fear. I mean, if I talk about the psychology of money, there's a lot of fear about numbers for a person who is not aware of how these numbers work. Or, I mean, I have seen women unable to sign a check because they didn't know where the comma would go. These are basic things, these are simple things. But if you're not used to it, it's like using your muscles, right? You don't use it, you lose it. So they haven't flexed their financial muscles at all.
Absolutely.
So when it comes down to it, they can't do it.
I agree. But that is changing.
That is changing. So again, we're on the right
And
path.
the younger generation is fairly conversant. I wouldn't say that they are absolutely right on the mark, but they are fairly conversant with all these things. There used to be a time when writing a check, getting a bank draft, etc., they would go paranoid. But that's not the position today.
Lovely. Now, let me ask you something which I find very intriguing. I see people who are willing to pay for personal trainers, they'll pay for personal nutritionists, they'll pay for the most expensive medical care, but they will find it a waste of resources to find somebody and pay them if they're an expert in finances, right? Because this is your financial health, but they think they can do it all by themselves and there is no real expertise required. Now, does this harm a person's company's financial health in the long term, short term? What are your thoughts?
Okay. Let me answer the first question first. We said we pay for trainers, personal trainers elsewhere. But when it comes to finances, we don't. Is it a fact? Yes. Yes, it is a fact. Why is it that this works? And maybe psychology would tell us better. The moment I start earning, I start feeling that I know numbers, I know finances.
Right.
Right? And you would find this trait all strata of society.
Yes.
A person who made it big may have made it big in terms of earnings, but doesn't necessarily mean that he understands finances the way he should understand.
Correct.
And the failures in business that you see, after having earned millions, you are back down where you were beginning. That's because an understanding of the numbers is not there.
Okay.
So, earnings is not equal to being savvy in finance. Therefore, personal trainer is essential. And but it is not taken because I think I'm earning, so I don't need a personal trainer,
Right.
personal consultant for finance. Does it harm your businesses? Big time. Big time. The dimensions that a financial expert can give to your working would add definite hue and color to what you're doing. And in fact, among the high net worth individuals, the HNIs, now there is a kind of position that they have somebody who is there to support them, to guide them, and to look after the numbers and finances. So, is there a trend of having somebody? Yes. From the middle class and the lower middle class, there is no question of a personal trainer as yet.
So, if we draw an analogy, if you go to the gym and you think you know your set, you can do it all by yourself, and you fire your personal trainer, your risk of injury increases.
Increases, absolutely.
So similarly, financial injuries will be higher.
Now, to give you an example, you borrow money. In businesses, you borrow. It's a part of the business game. But how much of debt leveraging should you do is somewhere the financial expert can come to you. Just because money is available in plenty in terms of borrowings, do you borrow? Do you take up a project just because money is down there available? So these kind of decisions where what is the risk reward?
Right, long-term risk, short-term understanding.
All that understanding can come from a financial acumen of a financial expert. And that third person giving you the inputs is much different because he's emotionally disconnected from your ideas.
Correct. I think it's the detachment and the distance which gives them the larger picture.
That's right. That's right.
Fantastic. Let's talk about the psychology of money. Finally, we're down to the zone that we wanted to be in. You've been in this field, Dr. Jain, for decades now. What changes do you see in the way people perceive and handle their money?
Okay. Wonderful. Yes, I can begin off the journey from 80s to now, so more than 40 years. Something that is permanent we should know first. That fear and greed are a constant.
Unfortunately.
Unfortunately, fear and greed are constant in human beings. Also, that has not changed. The other thing that does not change in taking any decision is your risk, reward, and liquidity. More the risk, more the rewards. Less the risk, less the rewards.
Okay.
And both these parameters are tagged up with the kind of liquidity you need to enjoy. So these are permanent. These don't change with times.
Okay.
What would change with times is the way you look at it, how you look at it. There was a time when people looked at savings. Now people look at spendings.
Yeah.
It's a different mindset.
The way people are spending money is so
Absolutely.
different.
That's word splurging is not a wrong word. when you
True.
see things happening. And uh, don't mistake the position that an individual who's rich only splurges.
Hmm. Hmm.
A person rolling in millions would splurge that kind of money. A person who's in his thousands and lakhs would splurge even in those thousands and lakhs. So splurging is there. Secondly is speculation and investing.
Hmm.
People would invest. Now the urge to speculate is a little tad higher.
Okay.
Tad higher. Maybe it is the digital awareness, the kind of awareness that is there, and therefore the readiness to do. In fact, if you see so many of the cases of suicidal deaths,
Hmm.
uh, and if you hunt down to the core where it went wrong, besides relationships, which I don't want to talk about, it has been bad handling of finances, more of speculation done
Right.
without any idea of what's happening. So that is an area where we need to attend to. And the use of plastic money, digital currency. When you put your hands into your pocket and take out 100 rupee note, is way different from swiping your card.
True. So I heard this fantastic thing on a podcast recently where they say that when I'm paying with GPay or Google Pay, I feel like Google is paying. So you don't feel like your own money is going. You do it so
Absolutely.
easily.
So very true.
Yeah, it's just
Therefore, our seniors would traditionally tell us no use of plastic, no plastic
no
money.
plastic.
Now I should say no digital currency or the cloud money. So
Yeah.
if you have to put that
It's
as
very
a
difficult to
larger
make it
canvas,
tangible.
you don't feel the pinch.
You don't feel the pinch. And if I talk about psychology, you don't even have that kind of gratification that retail therapy gets you. So it has been studied that if you're giving a wad of cash that you have counted and you have paid for something and you have received a box in return, there is a certain retail therapy which has happened. You have that
Some give and
little
take.
rush of joy. But now what is happening is you're shopping online with money that you can't see for products which you haven't received yet. So when you need that rush of dopamine or that feel good hormone, it's going to come later.
Absolutely.
But you spend the money now which you can't see.
Very true.
So it's become quite complicated.
Very true. Very true.
So tell me, if money was like our physical health, what would you say is the most harmful practice that people should stay away from?
Two, three things. One, I said, be more careful when you handle plastic money, when you handle digital currency. Uh, like you rightly said, that awareness is not there, that pinch is not there. So handling digital currency, swiping a card becomes so easy without having realized what you're doing.
Right.
It's only when you realize when at the 15th of the next month you have the bill coming in and you realize that the money in the bank is not enough. So there, a little care is one thing. Second is funding is available so easily. So availing of debt,
Hmm.
one has to be careful. Just because funds are available, I don't need to buy a house. Just because funds are available, I don't need to buy a car. Just because funds are available, I don't need to go for a foreign trip. And these days, everything is funded.
Right.
Everything is funded. So you have to pay tomorrow. But you don't realize that something which is not required has been done. So if I have to give one thought is that more care and caution in using digital currency and more care and caution in availing of debt.
I'm just so intrigued by this thought because it takes me to this whole geopolitical scene right now where countries are doing this to each other. They're offering funds, the other countries are taking it up, not realizing that this has to be returned. And entire governments are collapsing because of this. Because they're not understanding that this is not a free lunch.
True. In fact, not that we are discussing politics or geopolitics, but the Belt and Road Initiative of China was said to be a debt trap set by the Chinese countries to avail of the funds that they would give as a part of their Belt and Road Initiative, put you into debt.
It's so fascinating, really. On a more personal note, what has been the greatest challenge that you have faced personally in this field of work?
I think not a personal challenge, but it is a challenge that I've seen among the client base.
Hmm.
One is not being able to draw what is enough in terms of money. Where do I draw the line?
Right.
What is the goal? Is money the goal or is money only the instrument to the goal? Now, that's a very challenging thing for any individual who's going great guns. For him, money is the thing that I have to do. Why? So, not knowing where to draw the line is a challenge which people have faced and which I've seen happening over the years. Biggest challenge is not knowing when to draw the line, when to say it is enough.
Fabulous. And what about the stress? I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of stress in your field when it comes to dealing with somebody else's finances. I'm sure you've seen people take a hit. Even if you have given them the right advice, they haven't taken it. So you feel other people's pain also. And the empathy in you will make you feel the pain. How do you deal with this kind of stress?
Now that is a personal question. Until now, okay. Yes. So do you get impacted by these happenings in the life of your clients in terms of finances? Yes, you do.
Mm.
What can you offer? Only sympathies. Nothing beyond that. But reminding each of them and using these examples for the others is a job that you do.
Mm.
And this is quite offset by cases where they have averted disaster because of your advice. So, in a way, it balances out that you
Right.
have at times seen things going wrong for a person, and you have cases where your advice made all the difference.
Mm.
Kind of,
So your stress balances
kind
itself
of
out.
balances out. But the important thing that I've taken back home is that when I have done with my consulting, done with my work, I don't need to carry this home.
Mm. Very important.
I don't need to carry this home. And that's where my interest in poetry and my interest in writing come more, which kind of take you away from the world of numbers and into the creative world where you forget all what has happened in the office.
Beautiful. Let me ask you this now. If you had to give some advice to your 12-year-old self,
Yeah, I have two, not one, two. I have realized it myself
hmm,
that the decisions you take of investments, say in your 20s, if I were to be back into my 20s, now having realized 40 years later what is the position, I would say in my 20s, I should not have thought of the EMIs at the age of 20. I had 2 or 3 decades to go for whatever decisions I took in terms of investments.
hmm,
Correct. So, largely people tend to think about their present situation in deciding what their investment should be. Whereas you're going to work, you're going to make money is going to flow. That's in the realm of the future. I should take those decisions with that
right.
realm of the future kept into progress.
Hmm.
Correct? That is one. And secondly is in taking risks. Normally, as a 20-year-old, you have your elder brother, elder sister, father, parents, whoever, uncle, telling you, no, not this, not this, not that. This is too risky. No. We forget that he's in his 60s. You're in your 20s. Your risk appetite is far higher, can be far higher. So you could take risks which normally your parents or your seniors said don't take because all the risks that you take, all the hits that you take, you still have time to cope up.
Fabulous. So you would do a lot of things differently, but you would also tell yourself, don't be so cautious, play a little more.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Super. How often do you see people take bad financial decisions based on some emotional turmoil at home or at work? Do you think people need to be safeguarded from this? So let's say there's a bad relationship at home, and are they more likely to make bad decisions in finance?
See, this is a typical thing. People know that I have to take care of my physical health, I have to take care of my financial health. They know. There is a sort of people who understand that physical health is important, financial health is important. There are very few who work on it.
Right.
Both.
Both.
Both. Each one is aware that yes, I need to be physically fit. So many of us.
True.
There is a small class which definitely puts in effort. Same is the case with finance. If that realization is there that I need to take care, I understand, and I put work on it, then decisions taken when there is an emotional turmoil, he would also know that these have to be deferred. It's like typically saying that you get say for example, you get an email which is a nasty one from any of your colleagues, friends, clients, whoever associates. What do? The moment you read, do you sit back on the keyboard and on the do you reply immediately, or do you spend some time before you respond? When you're emotionally charged up, I think that is one advice that I would want to give you, that when you're emotionally charged up, keep it for another day.
Yeah, so don't make any
Don't make
promises.
any decision that day, because financial decisions should be
A little
away from
set away from emotions.
the emotional turmoil. It's okay. Somebody asked you, you're celebrating your birthday, and somebody said, "Today we need to party." That's a very small decision. I don't say don't. Your rush of
Yeah,
emotion should not allow you to take that decision too and wait for another day.
of course.
That's okay. But major financial decisions when you take,
Hmm.
and what's a bad financial decision? A bad deal, meaning a bad outflow, a bad investment. Either way, these can be deferred for a day when you are more composed. And these are times where you talk to the personal consultant.
Correct. So they
These are
can
times where
take you away
should,
from your
you should, yes, you should go there and share your issues at that point of time.
True. So let me ask you a question that I ask all my podcast guests. This is my favorite question on the show.
Okay, tell me.
We all know a physical first aid box, right? Something which has band-aids and painkillers for those minor cuts and bruises where you can deal with it, but you need a little taking care of.
Surely.
What if you had an emotional first aid box where you could put things which would make you happy after a bad day? What would you put in a box like this for yourself?
Okay, so this has nothing to do with finances.
No, this is your
Nothing to do with my personal.
yes, your personal emotional
Okay,
first aid box.
on the physical level, I think on the physical part, mental, I'll talk. Physical first aid box and the mental first aid box.
Physical is done and
Done.
set aside. Okay.
So, mental first aid box, I know is what are the issues that raise a problem? I have a bad event which I have to go through. I have a bad individual who, a bad individual, an individual who has not worked well with, I have to interact with him. So,
Okay.
for the first one, I need to know that this too shall pass.
True.
This will go away. I think today it's an event, it'll pass. If it's a bad individual, I need to understand, and I think I've done that big time, is that he's having a bad day. I need not spoil my frame because of his bad day with the person. And the third set of is memories. Because ultimately you are hit by either the event or the person or the memories of those events and persons. So for the memories, I would want to say, let go. Erase.
Or keep the
Erase.
nice ones.
Huh?
Or keep the nice ones.
Yeah, erase. No, but the unfortunate part, when we say the keep the nice ones, then you as a practitioner and the field of psychology would understand that we tend to keep the good memories in the pen drive and the bad memories in the heart.
Absolutely.
So it's very difficult to say that keep the good ones. You tend to keep the bad ones and rewind and play them again. And
So maybe you could actually have a mental first aid box and put some good memories in it which you could
Yes.
access easily.
Yes, yes.
How
Very
wonderful.
true, very true.
So your box is metaphysical, it is physical, it is all in one, and it just makes me so happy to see it. Before we come to a close, I leave the floor open to you. Is there any question you would like to ask me as a psychologist?
Yes, you spoke about psychology of money. You spoke about so many emotional areas where things could go wrong in terms of finances. And must have had people coming to you in terms of psychology. What, as a practitioner of psychology, would you tell a person, two kinds of categories of person? One who's who's on a high insofar as the finances is concerned, and one who's down and out almost in terms of finances. When they come to you, what do I look forward to now? How do I take it? And for the first one, there's no end. I am the person.
So that person will not come to me in a happy zone. But you'll be surprised at how difficult it is for a successful person to seek emotional help.
Absolutely.
Because
That's what I mean.
the world tells them, what are you upset about? What is making you sad? You have everything and more. But like you very rightly said, money is not the goal. It is the way to achieve a goal, which is what they have not identified yet. And so when they have anything, it could be clinical depression for that matter. I've had patients who are clinically depressed who have so much money that they would buy anything from it. But you can't buy that emotional health. And they have to first face this backlash from society, from friends. How ungrateful are you?
Oh,
That you have everything and you're still complaining. So they have to address one more taboo before they can address their emotional health. It is quite sad. And when it comes to somebody who has nothing, again, like you very rightly said, money makes the world go round. So I can't tell somebody who is struggling extremely, like really badly financially, that it's all okay, get up, smile, face the sunlight, and you'll be okay. You have to understand that a person who has no financial backup, everything gets harder for them, right? Medical care gets harder for them. Children's education gets harder for them.
Surely.
So their emotional health will take a hit which is bigger than somebody who has something to cover at least these things. So they have to be dealt with very differently.
How many of you, one more question, I think.
Sure, go ahead.
There have been so many statements which are made, which give you an emotional high that, oh, money is not the key to happiness, typically said. But if you have enough, you can get a key made. Statements like these take you away from the reality.
True. And I have spent years now looking for this happiness quotient in my patients and all the people I meet because this is my resource. This is my greatest resource that I get to meet people from different age groups and working in different fields of life.
Very great.
And unless somebody has a higher purpose and is giving back appropriately, they don't find joy. There are people who are extremely comfortable financially or have a moderate earning, but they feel better and they live better because they're giving back according to the money that they're making. And they're associated with something which makes them feel like part of a larger purpose. It could be a social cause, it could be helping somebody within the house, anything which takes them beyond just their little self.
So that giving dimension
is very
has
important.
To be there. Somebody beautifully said, money is like manure. You have to spread it around, otherwise it starts smelling.
Wonderful. And if you have more than enough, don't build higher walls, build larger tables.
Wonderful.
So bring people in, and it does enrich you. I mean, it does enrich you in so many ways.
Beautifully put.
So fantastic. I think, Dr. Jain, I didn't expect money to be so beautifully set in the minds of an expert. For me, money has always been something that you have to be wary of, something that you have to take care of, and something that you need to look at very, with a little respect. But from what I understand, in our conversation, there are so many algorithms that are set that we don't look at. If only we could break it down into these small pieces and handle each one with care, we're all set and sorted. It's not such a big deal, it's not such a complicated deal. But again, like you very rightly said, unless you work out every day, you're not going to get the body of your dreams. Unless you take care of your financial health every single day, it's not going to happen overnight.
And one thing that has to be kept in mind, I think that should go as a message is, and which we as in the world of finance understand very deeply, is you have to build credibility.
True.
And that is one aspect of your money making or not making, that you build credibility.
Which is not bought in a day.
Yeah, which is not bought in a day. That is something which each one of us needs to work on.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for all these pearls of wisdom. It has been wonderful. I'm sure a lot of people will benefit when they listen to this podcast.
Sure,
Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much. Thanks.